Hi guys, in this video we will see these 11 questions which I have listed here, and these are most asked question in a JavaScript interview when interviewer wants to check your basics and your logic building skill at the same time. So we will go one by one, and let's start with the first one, which is we have to find the second largest number in an array. So, if you see, I have prepared the function and their calling methods so that we will save some time. So, let's just start with the first one. We have to find the second largest from this one. Okay. So, what does it mean? So, if you see in line number 17, we have 89 as the largest and 77 as the second largest. So we have to write a function which will help us to find the second largest in this array, right? So let's start with coding part. So what we can do, if we have to find the second largest, we need to track the largest as well, right? Otherwise, how can we know that which one is the second largest? So let's declare some variable for tracking largest and second largest. So we will use one logic here. We will try to assign minus infinity at the beginning so that it will, whenever we will compare with any number, that number will be bigger than this, right? So let's assign the second largest as well, and we will also assign this minus infinity. Now we will look through the array which is provided here, and let's say it is num and arr. Okay, so if we find any number is greater than the largest number that we are tracking, then we will assign largest with that number, right? As simple as that, because that is the larger one, so we'll assign that number to largest one. And for second largest, we will add one logic that if the number is, let's say if the number is less than the largest, right? And if that number is greater than second largest, so then we want to assign that number to the second largest one. Okay, now let me comment these all functions so that it will not interfere with what we are doing currently. So I'll just comment this out as for now. Okay, now let's run it. See, we are getting undefined. Can you see what is the mistake that we are making here? So ideally it should come 77, but it is coming as minus what it is coming? Oh, undefined. It means we are not returning anything. Okay, let's return second largest. Okay, so then it is coming minus infinity, because if you see, for each and every number that we are looping, it is greater than the previous largest, so it is always going to this block, right? It is not going to this block anytime, because for each and every number that we are comparing, it is going to be larger than the largest one, right? So let's do one thing. So whenever we are assigning any number to largest variable, let's make sure that that previous largest is now the second largest, right? So we will just add one logic here. Second largest is equal to largest. So now what we are doing, before assigning this number to largest, I'm just taking any example here. So you can take 77 also. Before assigning this 77 to the largest, we are making sure that the previous larger, this is 6, right? The previous, if you just ignore this part, the previous largest is this. So till this point, the largest is 6. So now before we assign this 77 to largest, we have to, so what I'm saying is, see, we have completed till this. So till this point, our largest is 6. Now we are iterating for this one, 77, right? So before assigning this one to this one, right, we are assigning this previous largest to second largest. Okay, so that's what we are doing here, line number 18 and 19. So we are first assigning this previous largest to the second largest, and then we are assigning the current number 77 to the largest, right? So now if we run this, we are getting 77, right? Now if I just change -2 and let's make all the number negative and let's see if that works. So as per this example, which is the second largest, -4, right? -4. Okay. What happens if we don't have more than one element in the array? So that is a corner case. So you can just write one corner case handling here, that if arr dot length is less than 2, return null, right? So now if I just call it with 2, it should return null because there is not a second element. I hope that is clear to you, and we will move to the next question, which is to sum. Okay, so in to sum, this is a very famous question, and what happens in this question is you will be given one array and one target. Okay, let me come with the ink. So this is the array and this is the target. You have to check for each and every element in this array, right? For this array, that which two elements will be added and that will come as a target. So if you see the 2 and 7, if you add 2 and 7 here, it will come to 9. So we have to return what? The index of those two elements. So it will be like 0 and 1. So we have to write a function which will help us to get the index of those two numbers which will add up to the target. Okay, so there are many approaches that you can go with, but let's think about this. How can we achieve this? So the first thing that you can do is you can iterate through this and you can have an internal for loop that will again run through this. Okay, and then you will check that, okay, so first loop and second loops index summing to this, and then you will get that. But since you are iterating in a nested loop, it will come as O of n square, right? So that will not be a good solution and that will not be accepted most of the time. So what you have to do, you have to think like how can you do this in just one loop, right? So for that, what we can do, we can store the previous difference, right? So we will iterate through this and we will try to get the difference of this, right? So this is 2 and 9. We will try to get the difference, that will be 7, right? And then we will try to check whether that particular difference is available in our hash map. So we will try to use hash map here. So let's say you can use simple map object as well. So let's write it like this. And now we will look through the array. We will say num and arr. Okay, now first thing what we will do, we will try to see what is the difference for the particular element we are iterating, and this will come as diff, sorry, target minus current num, right? Now, if so, think about the positive case, this one. So now, if you see the 7, right? Now the diff is 2. So if 2 is available in hash map, then we will get the index from here. Okay, so we have to return the index as well, right? So let's change this to index. Let I is equal to 0, I less than arr dot length, and then we will increase the I, and let's get the const num is equal to arr I, right? Now what we will do, if that difference is available, right? So what we will do, we will check if diff in hash map, then we will return the current. So basically, if you talk about this 7, right, the difference is 2. So we will store the 2 in this hash map with that particular index. So what we will return here, hash map, and it will be diff, so that we will get the index of the previous number and this particular index. Else, now think about the first case, when you don't have anything in the array, in the hash map. So you will just store this particular number with the particular index. So what we can do, hash map, and this number is equal to I. So now if you think, let's just try run it. So we are at line number 2, right? Let me open the ink here. So let's say we are iterating through this number 2 now. So there is nothing in this hash map. This is empty. So it will, the difference is 7, right? Here it is 7. So there is nothing like 7 in hash map. So it will go to this one, right? And this hash map will now have a value 2, have a key 2, because we are iterating for 2 number, and it will also store the 0 index. Okay. Now let's go to the second one. Okay. So now we are iterating for this 7. For here it will become 7, and this diff will become 2. Now since we have already stored 2 here, right, in the previous iteration, so it will find 2 in this hash map, and then it will return from here. So it will get the 0 from this hash map, and the current index is 1, and it will return 0 and 1. I hope it is clear to you. If not, just re-watch the video for this function. And now if I run it, see, I'm getting 0 and 1, right? And this is now taking just one loop. So this is now having O of n, right? So the time complexity here is, O of n. This is what interviewer is looking for, that you are able to solve using some hash map or something maybe simple. You can also use JavaScript map object. An interviewer just wants to see that you can do it in O of n, because most of the time we will think to do this with O of n square, having a loop inside a loop, right? And the space complexity will be of 1 only, right? So this is a two sum, and this is very famous question when you go to interview. Okay, so let's go to the next question for us. What is the next question? It is reverse a string. Okay, let's go. This is like very tricky, and interviewer will try to check the You can do this with for loop also. You can have as cons, or you can just say let result is equal to a string, and then you can have a loop, right? And then you can loop from the last to the first, and you can append, and it will give you the result. But interviewer wants you to do this in one line. So how can you do that? Just think about it, right? So how can we make it in one line? So first of all, if you know that we have a reverse method available with array, so we will just make it, we will split this particular string, right? And we will get that in array, then we will reverse it, and then we will join it again, right? So if we join it, then it again takes one argument. So now if you just see, we have reversed this. Okay, now just check this one by one how it is happening, right? So let's not take the shortcut. So what I'm saying is, this is your string, and if you just put dot split for this, see, you are getting this array, right? And then if you just reverse it, you have already reversed your string. Now you have to just join it. And if you join without any argument, it will have comma in between all the elements. But if you just want to remove that, just make it like this. So now you got in one line, right? So this is what interviewer is looking, that can you do this in just one line. So this was it about this reverse string. Now coming to the next question, which is palindrome. So what palindrome is? First of all, you have to know this. If you don't know about what is palindrome, you can just ask the interviewer that please help me, what is palindrome, because this is not something that interviewer wants to check, that whether you know the palindrome definition or not. He wants to check that do you know the basics of JavaScript, right? So let me get the pen back. So the palindrome is a character which reads same from left to right and right to left. Actually, right to left. So ABA and ABA. So this is palindrome, right? If you have ABCD, then if you read from the left to right, it is ABCD. But if you read from right to left, it is DCBA. So that's not a palindrome. All right. So let's write the function for this. So as we know from the previous question that we can reverse the string, right? So if we check the current string with the reversed version of this, then we can get to know, right, whether it is a palindrome or not. So let's take one let reverse is equal to, I'll just copy the code from the previous function. So this will help us to get the reverse one, and then we can just simply check that str is equal to reversed. All right, let's run this. It is true. If it make it ABCD, see, it is false, right? So this is how you check the palindrome, but there are some corner cases, like interviewer can ask you that if it contains spaces, or if it maybe contain spaces, so you just remove the space, so you can just trim that, right? Or you can use some regex to remove the spaces. Also there can be a corner case that there are some character, so if you just run ABA, right? If you run this, now you will get false, because interviewer will ask you to improve this function so that it can support this. So what you will do, you have to use regex and make, or you can also do two lower string, right? And then you can check. So that will be helpful. So now, so there are some corner cases that you can think of. and this is how interviewer can ask you if you solve this basic one. Let's move to the next one, which is factorial. Okay, so here in factorial problem, interviewer is asking you something, right? He wants to use some efficient approach. Usually what people do, they will just run a for loop from 1 to given number, and they will just create one variable and they will return the result. Okay, but what there is one approach which is called recursion, and interviewer will ask you to solve this factorial problem with recursion. So if I tell you about recursion, there are two things. One is base case and one is the loop case, right? So basically where we call the same function. So if you don't know about recursion, let me just bring the ink. So there are two things in recursion. Okay, whenever you get any recursion problem, right? Whenever you get any recursion problem, you have one base case and you have one calling same function, right? So recursion means you are calling the same function again and again, but if you don't have base case, it will go into infinite loop, and then it will be one error of like exceeding call stack or something, right? So this is how recursion works. So let's use recursion for solving this factorial problem here. Let's delete this one. Let's get back to here. So first of all, let's write the base case that if num is, so factorial, if you don't know, factorial is something, let me add that as well. So factorial means if you have to find factorial of 3, right? So this means you have to multiply from that particular number to till it reaches 1. So if you have 3, so this is 3 factorial. If you have 101, right, then it will be multiplying from 101 to like this. So it will increase -1, n, then n minus 1, then n minus 2, right? So it will be 99, and you have to do this till you find 1. So this is what we call factorial. Okay, so we will do this with this function. Now let's get back to the code. Now if it reaches 1, then we want to return 1, else we want to just multiply that number with the result of the previous factorial, right? So multiplying that number with the result of n minus 1. This is it. So now if I run this, it's coming 720. If I find factorial for 5, 120, factorial for 3, 6, factorial for 4, 24. Okay. We will discuss about the recursion in very detail when we will cover the concept of JavaScript. But just remember, this is a famous interview question and you have to solve this using recursion. Now move to the largest number question. Okay. So in this question, what we have to do, we have to find the largest number in a given array. So it is basically we have already solved the second largest. So it is simpler than that. You have to just take largest as minus infinity, right? So that each and every number that we will compare in for loop will be greater than this, right? And you have to just loop through this, say num and arr, and then you have to check if largest is less than num, then what you will do? You will assign the largest, what I'm doing here. Okay, largest with num. Okay, so I think it's okay that if anytime we find that a given number is greater than the largest, we are reassigning that largest with that number, and we will simply return with largest. Simple, right? So here if you see, we have largest number is 67, so it is 67 now. Even if we check with negative numbers, -6, -8, -44, -1, so -1 is the answer. So this is the simple one. Let's move to the next one. Remove duplicate. Okay, so this question is something that interviewer wants you to get the unique elements in an array with some trick. So there is one thing you can do. You can create a separate temp arr, and then you can just loop through the array, right? And then you are checking whether this is available in this temp AR. If it is available, you will not push. If it is not available, then you will push. But that includes complexity. Like you have more than one for loop, because include is again O of n. So that's not a efficient way to do this, right? So interviewer wants you to know and check about the data structure that you know about array and set. So what you will do, if you know about set, set is a special object which contains unique elements, right, in JavaScript. So we will use set here. So what we will do, we'll return, we will create a set, right? So we can do, let's go one by one. So we'll create a set, and this will have ARR. Then we will wrap this inside array, and then we will put spread operator, so that it will now just in one line we are making that in set, and then we are extracting that set by using the spread operator. So this set will remove all the duplicates, and then again it will give us the array with all unique elements. See, now it is having 3, 4, 7, 8. Okay, let's move to the next question, which is count character. So I want you to think about this solution, that if you have, right, if you have this str with you, and if you have a character, how can you write a function to get the count of this? So one thing you can do is you can maintain one variable, and you can loop through this, right? You can maintain one variable. Let's write that. Let's make it let, and say count is equal to 0, and we will return the count at the end, and before that we will have a for loop, and it will be c of str. What we can do, if c is equal to char, then we will increase the count. Nice, this is very good. So now if you have test tst, if you increase sss, and if you see s, so you have 4 times you are getting s. So this is one simple for loop that you can write. But then the interviewer will ask you, can you think about some other solution, okay, where you don't have to write this loop? So what you can do, you have to write a function to check in just one line. How can you do that? So first of all, what we can do, let's write return. we can split this string, right, based on the character. So I will don't need this. So first of all, I will split this, and then we will check the length, and then we will reduce 1 from that. Okay, then it will give 4. Even if let's go to the next previous example, so 50, so it is giving 2. So let's see how it is happening. Okay, this is one trick that interviewer wants you to check in interview, that are you able to do this in one line. Okay, so let's check one by one. Let's copy this string here. Now if you split, if you know what a split, this helps you to split a string into array based on a specific parameter. So now if we give t as a parameter here, so it will split based on t. So based on t, so if you see t, there are 2t. So before this t there is nothing, so empty string. Then after this t there is es, so then it printed es, and then after this t there is empty string. So if two t's are there, then you get 3 elements in this array. That's why we are taking the length, right, and we are reducing 1 from that. This is the trick that we are using here. Okay, let's move to the next question, which is find first unique character. Okay, this is again a tricky question. You have to you have been given one string. Here if you see, f is 2 times, d is 2 times, g is multiple times, but u is the unique character. Okay, so the brute force approach is you loop through this, you maintain one hash map, and then you see that how many characters are there. For each and every character you maintain the count, and by the end of, after ending the loop, you again check that where we have count as 1, and you return that. But can we take some efficient approach here, right? So what we can do, if there is any unique character, right, then what will happen, if there is any unique character, then the index of that and last index of that will be equal, right? So let's try to solve this problem. So what I'm saying is, for c of str, if, so what we have to do is we have to check the unique character, right? So we will just try to check whether the first index and last index is same or not. So it will be like str dot index of, and it will be index of c, right? And if it is equal to str dot last index of same c, then we can say that this is unique, right? Because this character, particular character, is coming at the same index. So that is the unique character. So let's return C. And if we don't find any character as such, then we will return null. So now run this. So see, we got U. Yeah. Now if we remove U from here, so we don't have any such character, so it is returning null. Now if we have like test, it is returning E, the first unique character, right? All right, let's move to the next question. Okay, I hope you understood this. We are just using a trick. Even if you don't get this, just try to do a brute force approach, whatever is coming to your mind in interview. But if you do this, then it will just impress the interviewer. But let's go to the flatten array. So if you know about the flattening of array, so basically in JavaScript you can have nested array in array, right? So if you see this is top level array, then there is one nested array, and there is again one more nested array, and inside this also you have one more nested array. So what if we have to flatten this, right? So how can you do this? There is one flat function in JavaScript which you can utilize, right? So what we can do, arr.flat, and then we can give the flattening parameter as infinity, so that even if you have any number of nesting structure, it will take care of everything. So now if I enter, see now this is getting taken care with this. So this is the thing that interviewer want to test, whether you know about infinity or not. Because if you don't know about infinity, you will write 2 and then you will run, then it will have, it is working for 2 because we have 2 nested level. But if you just give 1, see, you don't have this in flattened array. So that's why we need infinity here, so that we don't have to take care of the nesting level. It can be nested to any level, right? Okay, so this was flattening array. Now we have to check whether two numbers are anagrams. If you know about anagrams, anagrams are character, or you can say strings, which contain same character but forms different words. So here we have E, right? See, here we have E, then here also we have E, here we have A, then here also we have A, here we have T, then here also we have T, right? You can also say ATE, that will also be an anagram of this. So we have to write a function which will help us to know that two given strings are anagrams for each other, right? So what we will do, we'll write a function. What we can do, um, see, you can have multiple approaches to solve this problem, right? You can you can loop through both of the strings one by one and store the unique characters, or say characters, and then you can just sort them and check them whether they are equal or not, right? Since they are a string, we'll try to do this in just one line. So what we can do, we will first of all we will sort this. Okay, so to sort this particular string, we will use split, and in we will make them available in an array. So we have already seen that we can split and we can make them available. Now what we will do, we will sort this, and after sorting we will join this, right? So we have splitted and made them as array. We have sorted them so that it can come in ascending order, and then we are joining based on empty string. And let's do the same thing for B, right? Let's do the same thing for B. So since we are splitting and sorting both sides and we are joining, if they are anagram, it will be equal, right? So let's run it. True. If I just make it G, false. Again it will be A, true. So this is one trick. In one line just you can check that they are anagram or not. So let's see one by one what is happening there. So let's copy this code from this to this, and here I will say it, right? And then I'll just, so see, this is coming as AT. Also, if we change this to T, this is coming as AT. So this AT is equal, that's why they are anagrams. I hope this video is helpful for you, and you can expect these questions as your first question in your JavaScript interviews in many front end or full stack JavaScript roles. They wants to see that you are able to make logic. Also, you are good at basics of JavaScript. So these are like most repetitive questions that I have found in interviews. All right, that's all from this video, and I hope this adds a confidence in you and you will perform good in your next interview. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep coding, keep rocking. Bye bye.